Hi guys. So I'm gonna be reviewing the fifth episode of Miss Marvel. There will be spoilers in this, but I don't know. My thoughts are kind of mixed on this episode. So if you want to be spoiled, if you don't want to be spoiled, don't watch this. And if you want a really positive review, I wouldn't recommend watching this either. There will be positive parts because I did overall enjoy this episode. I just feel like it's kind of lacking in parts, and I don't know how to explain it. It's just some parts were really really great and some parts were not. The part that I really loved about this show was the dynamic between all the characters, and all those characters dynamics that I loved are now gone. That I really like the trio with Nakia, Bruno, and Kamala, and then Kamran as well, but it's just kind of, it's not there anymore, and that makes it not as interesting, and the overall story's lacking because of it. I didn't like Miss Marvel because of like interesting villains or things like that. I liked Miss Marvel because of the characters. That's the same thing with the comics. I like Miss Marvel because of the characters. There's no other reason for it. And I feel like Disney doesn't really understand that. Sorry, an alarm went off. It's fine now. But it's not as interesting without those characters dynamics, and I don't feel like we have that. We have new characters and I like the new characters, but they're kind of forgettable, and they're I love the core friendships between them all, and it's not really there. What else should I talk about? I did like the overall story. We got to learn a lot about Kamala's grandparents and great grandparents, and I liked it. I liked it overall, but it felt kind of lacking, and nothing really happened. It was just learning more about the past, and that's fine. But I was expecting more out of this episode. The fifth episode is most of the time the most interesting episode, at least to me. Like with Moon Knight, the fifth episode is by far my favorite, but I don't really feel like it really had a payoff. I don't know. It's hard to explain. I I loved the start of this show so much. I was like, yes, this is amazing. And now I just kind of feel like not everything's come together. I don't know if that makes any sense, if any of you are feeling that way, but it kind of feels like it's falling flat and going into the same formula as every other Disney Plus show. And that's the thing I liked about What If and Moon Knight was I feel like the formula really wasn't followed as much. And I felt like that was where they were going in this direction as well because of the first part of it. And it was the same reason why people had a issue with WandaVision. And I feel like it was done better in WandaVision, but it had such a great premise at the start of it, and then it just kind of wasn't the premise anymore. It just kind of just switched into another story for the halfway through the show, which would have been fine if it was explained better and was done in a better way. At least with WandaVision, the characters were the same, and so like Bruno and Nakia could have been in the final battle, and Kamran as well, but it didn't really do that with this show. Now we're just learning about her great grandparents, which is fine. It's done well. It's just I was wanting more. I love the characters in this show, and I don't think Marvel or Disney really understand that. I feel like they're wanting more like an action show, and I don't feel like that's what Miss Marvel should be. I feel like it should be more like Spider-Man Homecoming, at least in my opinion, where it's yeah, there is that action, and the action's really, really cool, but it's all about building those relationships and those friendships to help following stories, which is why movies like No Way Home and Far From Home and Infinity War and Endgame really meant so much was because you got to know those friendships and got to know those characters from Homecoming. And I don't really feel that way in this show. I really loved those starting characters, and they did really great things with them because they focused on those relationships and those friendships. But now the new characters towards the end of the show, they're doing more of an action kind of thing, and I feel like the show is really lacking because of it. I feel like the action's less interesting without characters that we care about, and I also feel like just the whole dynamics between the characters and the dialogue and the acting just lacks because of it as well. Although I do like some of the new characters, don't get me wrong. I don't remember what his name is, but the new character with the new with the like bandana over his face. I really do like that character, don't get me wrong. But it's not, there's not a ton of characters I really cared about. From the first episode, I really loved, actually, is most of the game in the second episode, but in those first couple of episodes, I really cared about Bruno, Kamran, and Nakia and Kamala. I really, really did like those characters and got to see those relationships flesh out was really interesting, and I don't feel like they're focusing on that as much, which in my opinion is the most important part of a show. If you don't have the characters, your show is going to be not as good. It's going to be trash, and I'm worried that that's the direction that Disney and Marvel are starting to go in with these TV shows. And I'm starting to see a lot more is the action. Although it's super cool, you can't have those characters and not make them interesting. And at first it was fine because there was like Wanda and Vision and Bucky and Sam. Those characters we'd already gotten to know and love through the movies, but with these new characters, we don't know who they are because they're not really following the comics. But even if they were following the comics, we don't know who they are. Their on-screen presence, which makes them, if you don't have relatable characters and character development, it's not going to be done well because we don't know these characters yet. And that's the thing I'm starting to realize a lot with these new Disney Plus shows, is that, which can cause a lot of issues and problems down the road if they want to keep these characters. And I feel like they really wanting these to become like the new Avengers, which could be done really well, but I don't know. Overall, I thought the story was really interesting, but I feel like the execution was not done very well. But it's 8 minutes. I hope that all made sense. I hope I didn't ramble on too much. But overall, I did really enjoy this episode. It's just, I don't think it's going to be as good of an ending of this show as I thought it was going to, and I'm kind of sad because of it and disappointed. I have waited a long time to film this review because I don't really know. I don't know what they did wrong or how they could have. I feel like if they just went in a different direction with this show, it would have been so much better. But of course, I'm not the writer, so who knows. But I'll let you guys go. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I love you all 3000, and please stay safe. Bye, guys.